Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olsen.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to the After Hours AM Big Top with your ringmasters tonight, Joel Sturgis and the awesome and talented Eric Olsen. Yeah, I brought that up because did you hear, Eric, that the circus is no more?
I did.
I had to say that right away. I mean, of course, tonight we'll have a great UFO show, of course, with Mr. David Hogan. But I wanted to bring that up right away because I read an article that they're no longer, and we interviewed the young lady that was the curator some time ago of the Barnum and Bailey Circus. Remember that whole the whole museum?
That's right. And what else did she do?
Yeah,
We had her on for some other reason, but she also did that. I do remember that.
Yeah, that's mainly why they were trying to raise money to restore the building.
Oh, yeah.
Is what it was. But I heard now on social media, and of course the big talking heads, that it will be no longer with us anymore, the circus. It's at least Barnum and Bailey. They are a thing of the past, and that's the big one. They're the thing of the past,
sure.
and mainly because they've had to take away several of their attractions. Most notably, the elephants are no longer in the show, and animal rights and things like that. I get it, I guess, but just a little piece of Americana that's gone.
Yeah, it's sad. And the other side of the coin, of course, is now with by far the largest, best known, and most accountable circus shutting down. The only ones that are going to be going now are the smaller, regional, kind of fly-by-nights that have lower standards.
The bingo hall.
In terms of animal welfare than they did. But the writing's been on the wall for quite a while. It's just the ticket sales have gone down. Interest has gone down. It's, like you said, it's one more piece of original Americana that is going by the wayside.
I never
it's fallen by, the digital world, the internet, short attention spans. It's just not, it isn't the novelty that it once was.
Well, that is true. It has lost its luster. A lot of people are saying, it's just not as, people are interested. Kids just are not interested in the circus anymore.
I think young kids probably are just as much, or would be just as much as ever. I think it's really, honestly, the parents.
Well, yeah. Do you want to sit around and go to the circus, Eric? Have you ever gone to the circus?
Oh, I've gone to the circus many times. In fact, we probably went as recently as 5 years ago.
And did you enjoy it?
Sure, it's fun. There's a lot going on. And when you're with kids, that makes it so much more fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I can't imagine going without kids.
Well, yeah.
But, there's a lot of skill going on, all the various high wire things and the acrobats. And it's funny. The clowns are funny doing their funny clown things.
Yeah.
And the animals are fun and interesting. And
yeah. Well,
it's fine. I mean, maybe it lasts. Maybe it's a little long, but, it's not made for me. It's made for kids.
Well, it's done. It's gone. See you later. The only thing that'll be left will be, like, for most folks, is the Shrine Circus that is still making. You've heard of that one, right? The Shrine Circus. I guess that they
sure drink up Shriners.
Yeah, that's right. Raise a glass, Shriners, and I guess that'd be the only one with any kind of accountability still operating.
Yeah, it's too bad. It made me think actually about the American Horror Story season with the Freak Show, and
I wish you still had the Freaks. That'd be cool.
That would,
I bet,
but that was on its way back in the 50s.
Yes, darn people. They got a little oversensitive. Can't look at a mermaid lady. Come on. You can't look at a bearded lady or a goat-headed man. What the hell? What's wrong with this country?
What's changed really almost 180 degrees is even as recently, certainly as 100 years ago, although most of the inventions of the modern world, or many of them anyway, already existed. TV even was almost about to be invented that long ago. Radio had been invented.
Yep.
Certainly the phonograph was out there doing its cool guy thing, and motion pictures and so on and so forth. So, 100 years ago. But what's changed and was already changing 100 years ago, but what's really swept across, all of the, not just the cities, but the heartland, rural areas, suburban areas, is live events just aren't nearly what they used to be.
No.
And the exception to that, I suppose, is still music concerts, because it's kind of the only way, to have that one-on-one, that personal quote-unquote relationship when you're in a crowd of 100,000 people, of course. But, no, if you're going to a club, I mean, you can still have that feeling. I mean, my daughter, the 17-year-old, she still goes to shows, and she mostly goes and sees indie bands playing at
that's good times right there.
Clubs and all that kind of thing. But as far as live performances, you used to have people who were simply public speakers. They were orators. That's what they did.
Yeah.
They got up in public and they spoke.
That's what they did. That is what they did for a living. They got up and they said, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's read a story."
Exactly. And plays.
Yes.
And, every kind of live performance. There's so many.
I know, it's all
the whole vaudeville mentality,
it's
all of the
done,
live
man.
kinds of acts through that. I mean, that basically doesn't exist anymore.
Not really. No, that's pretty much done for. You've seen Opera House now, and it's pretty much in disrepair, most of them, from the vaudeville days. Pretty much done for. There's very few. I don't think there's any vaudeville that I know of that's up and running. I could be completely wrong, but I'm not aware.
Not vaudeville in and of itself.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware. Unless there's some retro show.
There very well could be.
There's various retro shows out there and burlesque shows and whatnot that are kind of like the old vaudeville. But nonetheless, it's just a whole different world, and people have a different mentality. It takes a lot more to get people to go out.
It does. Why would I want to leave my house and I have a 65, 70-inch TV and it's just like sitting in the movie theater? Why would I want to leave?
Or put down your phone.
Exactly.
Or, so on and so forth.
It could be that people need constant stimulation, so to speak, to keep their attention. And that's really probably at the heart of the matter.
And on the one hand, as a result of all this, we have extremely broad availability.
We do.
Of every kind of entertainment you can
pretty
ever
much.
imagine.
Could you imagine being a boy, a youth of 14, 15, and having Netflix?
Having
movie,
internet. The internet, period.
But every movie, the equivalent of a movie store on your TV.
Right there. Yeah, and ever changing every month.
Yeah.
They're bringing in new ones, swapping out old ones.
My Netflix was Blockbuster Video, man. That's all we had was the video store.
Sure.
And then you have to wait for the guy to return the copy of the movie you want to see, maybe reserve it, get a waiting line, that whole thing.
So the plus side of it is we today have access to an enormous, almost unlimited, almost inconceivable width and breadth of entertainment at our very fingertips. But the downside of it is what I just said.
Yeah.
As a result, we are so fragmented. Yeah. There are so few things that bring us together anymore.
Yeah.
And I should say this. I should salute my daughter, by the way, the 17-year-old. She's going with a friend and the friend's mother, and they are going to the Women's March in D.C. tomorrow.
Wow. Well, good for her. Good.
She's an activist.
Well, she should be.
Purple hair.
That is good. That is good. You got to be proactive in this world.
The girl with the purple hair. I bet
that's
she'll.
Right. Well, another thing.
She'll get on some news with that hair.
Speaking of activists, did you hear the news that The Walking Dead reduces violence after public outcry?
I did see that. Yes.
I posted on Facebook, of course, and it's been running around the internet anyway, but I posted over there at our group over there, radio group, which is, of course, After Hours AM Radio / America's Most Haunted. If you're so inclined in joining over there on Facebook, you too could read all the cool posts we put out there on the Facebook end of things. But The Walking Dead now is a victim of the squeamish, the people that can't handle the violence group. They finally did win, and they are vowing to get rid of a large amount of the graphic gore in the movie, or in the show, rather. I mean, we're talking about a show that takes place in a zombie apocalypse. We're not talking about the Brady Bunch here. We're talking about a show that happens as zombie. How can you have a show about zombies without gore?
Here's what I think happened, and I didn't even read the article, but I did take note of it. What I think happened is, what happened in that first episode, that coming back, you had all that buildup, you had all those months, you had all that anticipation. What happened was, there was a very large amount, probably the most that's ever been on the show, of graphic violence toward humans.
Yeah.
And toward humans we care about, and toward humans we care about not committed by zombies. So that is why people were so up in arms and were so distraught, I think, after that first episode, because it really was pretty damn brutal. So I think they're free to do pretty much whatever they want to zombies, right? No one really cares about
there's
the
really
zombies.
no, be nice the zombie movement, but
no. And I think people will accept, because it's been going on all along. When a person, a human, becomes a victim of zombies, we kind of know what to expect there too. Yeah. I really do think it was some subconscious element of human on human violence. That's what people were really upset about.
Well, I think you're right. And reading the article, they are down from the very first episode, which was a really large audience. But overall, season 7 is down 33% from its preceding seasons.
It was probably inevitable.
People are starting to, okay, let's move on. They're looking for that next thing now. That's what happens on TV. Kind of loses the luster. The bloom is off the rose, so to speak.
Sure, and the attention span, as we've already mentioned, it's still the most watched show on cable, and I believe it's second only to a handful of network. In the key demographic that 18 to 49 is what they're always aiming for.
Yeah.
So it's still enormous. It's still a juggernaut. It's still a big money maker. It can continue, forever.
Yeah.
Because even though it has a huge cast. The budget isn't as high as you would think, because they don't pay people much.
No, I think if you're a zombie just because you want to be a zombie most of the time.
Even the main characters.
Yeah, they don't make a whole
compared
lot.
to other TV, they are underpaid.
I do believe Jeffrey Dean Morgan makes the most, if I'm not
That may be.
mistaken. That when I saw a rundown. But, hey, man, it's The Walking Dead. We'll see what happens. If they totally water it down, you're going to hear a massive click of the televisions going off. You know,
I think so.
If it becomes a hugging with Negan and Rick, let's hug it out. That so.
I think we're not going to see that.
No, I don't think we are either. Hey,
I think we're going to see all-out war. Is what we're gonna see.
More than likely. I did see, and I was surprised at this movie, because I'm not the world's biggest Rob Zombie filmmaker fan, and I've watched them all. Don't get me wrong, but most of them, excuse me, with a few exceptions, like I thought Devil's Rejects is pretty good. The Halloween movies, I did not like at all, the remakes, but I did see the newest one called 31. And that was actually pretty decent. The reviews, of course.
What made it work?
Well, I think the writing was so good with the one-liners. There is a character in there, and not to give out too many spoilers to those who haven't seen the movie, named Doomhead. See, basically, these people are kidnapped, and they are carny folk. And they are forced to survive a night with people hunting them. It's a lot like the Japanese movie Battle Royale. Remember that, where the people are stuck and they have to defeat the people are after them, that kind of thing. Sure. Same thing going on as there's different hunters that come into almost like arena-like atmosphere, like a big industrial complex. And these people are tasked, the victims, are tasked with living 12 hours while people are hunting them, which really plays up pretty good because they have some really good writing. The one that sticks out the best, and of course he's the star of the show, is a character named Doomhead. And that's his name. That's his official in the octagon name is Doomhead. And he has some good one-liners like everybody in hell loves popcorn. Stuff like that, and stuff like that. So just little witty one-liners throughout, kind of remind me of a Freddy Krueger type. We're kind of funny, but also serious, but also terrified at the same time. If you get a chance, it's definitely a rental. I don't know if I'd tell you to go out and buy it, but definitely rent it. If you're looking for an hour and a half of your life to kill, go ahead and watch it. It's not the worst one I've seen all year. I've seen a lot worse movies, but this one, as far as Rob Zombie goes, was pretty good. Not as good as The Rejects. I still think Devil's Rejects, the way it was acted, because those actors were definitely a different breed. I mean, they were more seasoned actors in those films, and of course what's his name? Sid Haig. He's been around forever, right?
Yeah, Captain Swallow.
Yeah, he is not in this. None of the Devil's Rejects people are in this film. So it's a total standalone new story, although there are some similarities because it's always kind of a gritty, grainy, icky kind of feel to all of his movies, kind of make it feel dirty, like you want to take a shower afterwards.
Right.
But,
I think Sherry's in this one.
She's in every single one of them.
She's in all of them.
Yeah, well, it's gratuitous butt shots, like he always does with her, showing off her body, that whole thing. Like every Rob Zombie film is. Have you ever seen a Rob Zombie film without her in it?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. I have not seen one yet to date. But anyhow, in a nutshell,
the Halloween ones too?
Yes, she is. She is in the Halloween ones as well. And so she's in every one of his productions, evidently, whether you like it or whether you don't. I kind of find the lady, to be completely honest, be a little bit on the grating side sometimes. Like, hey, you're only in this because you're his wife kind of feel. Right. Here's my wife. You must watch her act kind of feeling. But all in all, I'd give it 3 stars, 3 out of 5. It's definitely worth your time.
So, all right, I will make note of that because I have not seen that one. I wasn't really sure how to feel about it. I saw very mixed, but he always gets mixed response.
Oh, he does. You either love him or you hate him.
So I will make note of that, and I like the fact that it takes place on Halloween. Anything with a Halloween
Yes, I forgot to mention
theme.
that. It happens on Halloween. Some really rich people get together and they make wagers on who's going to survive the night. And, and that's how it works. It's really for amusement of the elite. And speaking of elite, yes, we will mention it because our listeners know that unfortunately we do mention politics from here and there, time to time. We will have a new president tomorrow.
I know the time has finally come. It's been a very strange slog between the election and now, and President Obama seems to be lot of teary-eyed, of misty-eyed people out there, including him and his family, of course.
Yeah, well, a lot of people seem to really like Obama.
Oh, well, sure, and it's always you know when your approval ratings are highest when you're leaving.
when you're leaving office, that's when everyone loves you.
I mean, he's at like 60%
He
now.
is. He is. That's because he's leaving. Hey, he was great. Now, don't turn around. Just keep going. You don't need to come back. But we liked you while you were here. Yeah, that kind of thing.
I think I think I've said this before. If I haven't, I will now. I think he was not perfect. He is not perfect. He's not dead. We shouldn't put him in the past. As president,
I liked him.
He was not perfect, and he made some mistakes, I think. And there were some things that he said he was going to do that he was incapable of doing. But that part of that is simply the structure of the government. But in the big picture, I think that he will be perceived, 100 years from now, I think he'll be perceived as one of, not the tippy top Abraham Lincoln, George Washingtons, but I think he'll be in the top 10% of presidents. I think
we'll see. I think hopefully history looks favorably on him. He did have some also, the positives, but boy, did he have some big negatives. That going against him as well. So, I mean, but that's every president. That's every one of them since this country has formed had both. I mean,
and that's why it takes time to sort out what are the most important things, because you don't really know right now what the most important things are.
Well, I know a lot of his legacy. They keep talking about legacy. I think would be washed away in short order.
We'll see.
According to what the talking heads are saying, the mainstream media. According to what Trump has said himself, that he will be, bringing down, level down a lot of these executive orders that were in place. One of them, most prominently, of course, as everyone knows, the Affordable Care Act was actually a mandate by the president. It was an executive order, which can be undone with a swipe of the next president. So it's not necessarily a constitutional law; it's a presidential law. So he could indeed, if he wanted to, on the 21st, he could take it all down.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think it will either. But
pretty much no one is saying that we want it all gone and forever. So, and the litany has been repeal and replace. Well,
with what?
Yeah, exactly. Even that is very complicated. Pretty much even the harshest critic is now saying, wait a minute, I don't think we want to shove the 20 million poorest or those who can least afford health care Americans off of health insurance, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, unless Donnie shows up and says, guess what? Everybody gets health insurance. That's right, baby. We're going universal, single payer. Here it comes.
Well, interestingly, he has talked about that.
Yeah, I have heard him say that, but man, there's just too much money being thrown around. That's a big part of our economy.
It's an enormous. It's a very complex figure and a complex situation. I agree with you. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to really have to keep an eye on what's going on. I think you're going to see some of the strongest, firmest pushback against he and his policies that we have seen probably since the 60s.
Yeah. Well, he's got the majority, though. He's got his buddies, and they control the House and Senate. I mean,
Well,
you know,
he has a governmental majority, but he does not have a majority in the populace.
well, this is true. But I'm just saying, vote as far as making laws, he's got the majority. I mean, you know,
He's got control of both houses. Right now, it's pretty much a split in the Supreme Court, and of course, he gets to
he's good.
he gets to appoint the ninth guy.
He could possibly appoint. This is what I heard. This is the figure that was told to me. He could possibly appoint 4 Supreme Court justices throughout his presidency.
I doubt that because I think people are going to hang on a lot longer.
Just to get rid of them. Okay, we're going to hang on for a couple more years.
We're not going anywhere now. It's certainly possible. I mean, we know he's going to do 1, so it's certainly possible that he could do 2.
No, but very possible. Who knows how this is all going to shake out? And I will be happy because then social media will calm down. We won't see all the rhetoric out there. It'll be a new day. Maybe he'll do a great job. I'm hoping because, hey, baby, we're stuck with him kind of deal. And hopefully he does a wonderful job as the greatest president we ever had, that we look back and go, wow, he was the best. That's what I honestly hope for Donald Trump.
Well, sure, why not? Because it is our country, isn't it?
Because if he does good, I do good. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
You know, if he could figure out the $64 billion question or trillion, whatever national debt's at now, I know it's unreal how high it is. If he can figure out that magic formula to get us great again, like he keeps saying, I didn't realize America was horrible, so that was news to me. But making us great again, that will be great, and I'm pulling for him in that regard. But
great is great.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, I'm all for that. But just don't screw us over.
Yeah, it's such a we don't know.
Yeah,
we
don't know.
We just don't know.
We do not know what is ahead. You know, and a lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are scared. People that are on the system for, their day-to-day living things. People that are on disability. People that are welfare. All these people are worried that he's going to come in and say, okay, free ride's over. And no, folks, that cannot happen. There are safeguards put in place, such as Social Security. He just cannot waltz in and change everything overnight. That is, and that's just not going to happen. So rest easy, you'll be fine.
I would think so, yeah. And one of the last things that Obama said was, hey, you know, the sun will come up tomorrow. Yeah. We will survive. We've survived many other things, and like you just said, Joel, there's lots and lots of safeguards in place. What's remarkable, even with a majority in both houses of Congress and the presidency, it's still difficult to do things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely is, and he'll find that out. He will. He's never been in politics before. Boy, I think he's in for a rude awakening.
Oh, I do too. I think it's just going to be bizarre, because it's so contrary to his personality. He has such an executive personality, and the presidency is not a dictatorship.
No, I was going to say he's going from a dictator to being the president. That is not going to work, but we wish him all the best. We wish everyone all the best. And one quick programming note, I got some big news, of course, Wednesdays, this coming Wednesdays, not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday.
Well, now it is this Wednesday.
It is this Wednesday. We've got a little show coming on.
A week from yesterday.
A week from yesterday. We got a little show coming on, don't we, Eric?
We do. Very, very excited. We have had so much fun and such a positive response whenever we have Dr. Clarissa Cole on and talking about true crime, yes. And her analyses and her profiling is so interesting and psychologically penetrating. I mean, I've learned so much. Really. I know I did. And she'll appreciate that. But so as a result of all of this, we are starting a new night, just a whole new show. pretty similar format as this, except rather than being broadly speaking paranormally based, it will be broadly speaking true crime based.
That's
so we're
right.
really looking forward to that. Even the news and banter in the first hour will be more geared toward crime. Thursday nights, the first hour. Certainly once we get past the first half hour, we're going into the paranormal news. So we'll be talking about all kinds of stuff that's going on in the world of true crime. And, man, there is never a lack of true crime going down.
That is
and
true.
Then in the second hour, just like the Thursday night show, we will have a guest. So it's going to really be interesting. And Clarissa will be joining us. She'll be with us the whole 2-hour program. She'll be the third host full-time, and it's very exciting. Really looking forward to it. There's a lot of stuff that we can get into, both current and historical. So it's really going to be neat.
So tune in next Wednesday, same time, same channels. Thank you to all the affiliates that are picking up the show, that have agreed to pick up the show. We will not let you down. You can get the same great fun and product and all that kind of good stuff, but we mainly thank you to the fans. We love you, and thank you for sticking around with us. That being said, we got to run off the break. We'll be right back, everyone. When we come back, your America's Most Haunted Headlines up next. Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed,
680 to 90, 10-4.
could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At ACE, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at ACE, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. ACE,
the helpful place.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
And now, the final crowning punch for this case. Take a bite.
Chocolate.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
And tonight, of course, we have David Hogan on the show tonight, and he is the author of UFO FAQ. All that's left to know, basically, about everything.
About everything.
No, it'll be kind of cool to talk UFOs.
Roswell, aliens,
Yep.
whirling discs.
That's right. Flying saucers. But he doesn't mention anal probing in that title.
No, not in the title.
No.
But there's plenty of anal probing going on in the book.
That's a very probing book. Okay.
It is. It's splayed out on the operating table.
But if you are listening to us via your smartphone or at your computer, you listen over at TuneIn Radio, of course, using the TuneIn app or even the app over there at iHeartRadio, go on over to Twitter and type in AM Haunted if you're not already there, and follow along with our news headlines. You will not be disappointed. Again, that's AM Haunted at Twitter.
You will not be disappointed. And what's super cool is you can follow the links to any of the articles we mentioned. And best of all, you can see the pretty pictures.
The pretty pictures. That's right.
All right. Guess whose birthday it is today?
But he's never happy. Edgar Allan Poe.
Good old Edgar Allan Poe. Yes, we were talking during the break. We had Christy Robinette on the show, and she co-wrote a book with Edgar Allan Poe, who is her spirit guide. How interesting is that?
I'm going to have to get that show back in rotation. I think it's off for download. I'm going to get that thing back up. That was good. That was a good interview.
Classic. The woman knows Edgar Allan Poe.
She does. He comes to her quite often.
So for those of you who have not taken our suggestion and are not looking at the Twitter feed right now, we have a really cool picture. It's an illustration, I would imagine, of Edgar's face superimposed on a raven. And the text is, "It's my birthday, but I'm never happy."
I'm never happy. Ever.
And of course, Christy said that wasn't true at all. She said
he said he was like
ladies' man.
Yeah, life of the party.
Kind of a life of the party, a pretty cheerful guy.
Oh, yeah.
Is the impression we have of him is wrong, according to her.
Yeah. I guess he's a big fan of the knock joke. Yeah.
From the beyond.
Yeah, exactly. Knock. Who's there? Egner. Right, who? So you hear my heart?
We salute Edgar. We salute you, Edgar, on your birthday.
Yes, we do. We salute you, Baltimore's favorite son.
Exactly. All right, moving along. This actually made me sad. Have you heard of the Morbid Anatomy Museum?
The Morbid Anatomy Museum? No, I have not, but now that I'm looking at the article, I am seeing it involves cats and dogs and other things.
That particular diorama does.
So
what it is, it's a bunch of morbid anatomy. So it's all kinds of things. It's parts of people things that went wrong with them, and diseased body parts, and all this nonsense. But they did a lot of programs there too, a lot of cool stuff, and they brought in people, and they did art. You could go in and do drawing about looking at using their collection.
Yeah.
The thing is, it was only open about 3 years because it was quite a large place. And I'm sure it was very expensive to have that large a facility.
A lot of taxidermy going on there.
A lot of taxidermy going on. And this was in Brooklyn, but it is now closed. So we're sad about that because it was one of the more interesting museums in the nation. And that collection now, will not be on public display.
Well, that's too bad. Everyone wants to see a taxidermy tumor.
Exactly. And, there's all kinds of stuff. There's not all of it's real. Some of it's wax, and it's showing various examples of parts that were used and mannequins and whatnot back in the old days before corpses were actually available, at least legally. For med schools back in the 17 and 1800s. Yeah. So there's a lot of really interesting things there, weird things. Did you ever watch the show Oddities on Science Channel?
I have, and that is that would rank up there as odd. I don't know if I'd go into that place, to be honest with you.
It's a weird place. The woman who co-owns it, Evan, she is on the board, or was on the board, with the Morbid Anatomy. So she was very sad to see it go.
Well, yeah,
All right.
yeah, I don't blame her, but, okay.
All right, moving along. There's another anniversary, and apparently it's literally today. What in your without looking, just guessing, I would not have gotten this right.
Okay.
I
won't look. Eyes are closed.
Okay, eyes are closed. How long do you think the person or former person who has been frozen, in other words, died, cryogenically preserved, how long do you think that person has been frozen? The longest in the world.
There are rumors that Walt Disney got frozen. Let me take a wild stab at it. And let's go 65 years.
50 years.
50. I was only 15 years off. Only.
You were in the ballpark.
If it was a hand grenade, we'd all be in trouble. But, wow, 50 years. They froze this dude or girl or whatever. They froze this dude 50 years ago, and they still have him on ice today.
Oh, yeah, and still going strong. And periodically they have to rewrap them, and they do this and they do that. And that's what that picture's of. They put on a new wrapping on the body.
I mean, aren't they afraid the guy after 50 years get freezer burned? I mean? Just...
Well, that's one of the problems that they have to overcome, you see, because, literally the equivalent of freezer burn does happen, and the cells break down. See, because there's a lot of positive things that they've been able to, you hear these stories about people drowning, or they thought they drowned, but they're in very, very, very cold water, water so cold it's almost frozen, and then they're able to revive them. Much, much later, hours later, even. They come back. So there is something to be said, for cryonic.
Well, I'd like to hear their success rate and bringing people back.
Well, none yet.
Exactly.
It's a big zero. But anyway, it's a very interesting story. It's the story of this guy, this individual. His name was James Bedford. And, there's a picture here.
Oh, James.
Frozen 50 years ago, James Bedford's body is given a new coat before being re-immersed in liquid nitrogen. And they bring him down to 200 degrees below zero.
My God, I thought over here was cold the other day. 200 degrees below zero?
He's good and frozen.
Yeah, I'm surprised his coat doesn't say brought to you by Frigidaire.
So, there are people going back as far as 50 years who have been frozen and will continue to be for as long as they think it's a viable option.
I don't want to get frozen.
That they can be returned.
I'm good. I don't want to get frozen. I'm good.
Well, there's a lot of issues. I mean, first of all, what if it actually works? Do you really want to come back hundreds of years after everyone you know is dead?
Yeah, you'd be like Rip Van Winkle. Waking up,
very much like Rip Van Winkle.
What the hell? And then you realize that everyone you knew is dead and gone, and you're the only one that decided to get frozen, and they bring you back, and there you are. You're stuck in this weird
all new
place, weird world. Wow, that would not be cool. One more quick side note, totally unrelated to be freezing. I was pumped and I was excited for a Breaking Bad returning season. Did you hear this? Did you hear the rumor?
I heard there was a rumor, yes.
It's a hoax.
Well.
I was crushed and devastated. It's
the internet for you.
It killed me. It really did. I just that went through my head. I think it was all the chemicals used to freeze the guy made me think of meth.
Well, that is not a illogical connection to make. All right, speaking of TV, coming back for its 5th and final season, and I'm telling you, people, if you're not looking at Twitter right now, you are losing out. Look at that creepy
That is creepy as hell.
Of Norma, who's, of course, Vera Farmiga, and that's after Norman has done her in. He killed her at the end of the last season.
Yeah, he did. He killed her off. That show's ramping up. You can definitely tell it's going to come to its crescendo.
Final season, 5th and final season, will kick off on A&E, of course, on February 20th. And even though Norma is dead, the actress, the character, will still be appearing all season long, but only in Norman's mind. But we're going to see Norman's mind, so she's
part of the crew.
She's there,
She'll
even
be
though
there.
she's dead.
Come on. Yeah, Norma will dress up like her, run around.
But look at that blue picture. Ooh,
that is
creepy.
very blue, very creepy. A lot of black lights are made to make that scene. You can definitely tell that.
Ugh, that's real. All right, now look at this. I love this picture. If you just saw the next picture, what would you think it was?
Are we talking about the things on the Mars thing?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't want to go too far. I would think it would be like one of those. Actually, it looks a lot like one of those Lego things that the kids are all buying these days. The sets.
Well, I see what you're saying, but if I look at it, it just looks like dried, cracked mud.
Oh, we're talking about not the machine, but what it's sitting on. Gotcha. Yes, I would say they'd probably be in Arizona somewhere.
Okay, so I think you're looking at the one that's below the one I'm talking about. There's 2 Mars in a row.
Oh,
so right
Mars.
below Vera is we have what looks for all the world to be dried, cracked
Oh,
mud.
sure. Now I see it. Okay.
That is a rock from the surface of Mars.
Really?
So they're now saying they are just about positive that it is exactly what it looks like. It is dried, cracked mud. Now, it's billions of years old, but that means there was mud, there was water, flowing water, and mud on the surface of Mars a couple billion years ago.
So it proves that there was, at one time, things
Water.
that sustained water. Sustained
Yes.
life. Interesting. Very interesting. I think Mars probably, at one time, had some type of life on it. Whether it be microbial, whether it be, something. There was something there.
I think it's microbes, and I think they will find evidence of it because it's probably, I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about could it be possible that it's still alive, but it probably could be under the surface.
As
right?
long as it's not a xenomorph.
Yeah, we don't want those xenomorphs.
We don't want those here. We don't have a Ripley around to take care of it. So,
but the next item, the next tweet, which is the one you were looking at, which is another Mars one.
Yes.
We are sending a brand new probe.
It's not. Yeah, it's cool.
And that one's actually going to collect actual samples like we collected from the moon and bring them back to Earth.
Wow, so they'll actually feel Mars for once. They'll actually
They
feel
will
the
have
Earth.
a real Mars rock and soil samples and whatnot back here on Earth. So that will be the next rover that goes up, and that leaves, I guess, in a few years. I think it leaves in 2020.
Yeah, to take that long ride to Mars.
Yeah, but that's not long from now. At least that it will begin.
It'll be cool.
So,
It'll be cool.
I mean, this is the golden age of space exploration.
Yeah, well,
sure.
we haven't walked at anything other than the moon, so, it's.
Well, I'm just talking about all the discoveries they're making. Mostly it's with the telescopes, the new telescopes, and getting the satellites out there, out of the atmosphere and all that. They're finding amazing things. All right, so we know all about, we've been following, because it really comes under true crime more than paranormal, but we have been following, of course, the case of the Slender Man stabbings.
Yeah, I've been watching
up
that
in
unfold.
Wisconsin.
Yes, isn't that a horrible story? Those kids.
Terrible. The only positive thing is that the girl, the victim, survived, and I just saw a picture of her. She's doing very well.
Yeah, but the poor girls that are messed up mentally, you got to know they're messed up mentally, that thought they would take off. Yeah.
They're pleading insanity. One of the girls definitely has been diagnosed as having childhood schizophrenia and is on medication, and her whole personality has changed, they say, for the good since she's been on the medication. And it doesn't even seem real what she did. Remember, they were 12.
Yeah, well, talk about 3 lives destroyed.
3 lives destroyed.
and the families, that had to go through all this. I really do feel sorry for all the kids involved, and
all of them. I agree.
And we watched the whole Slender Man story where he was born on the internet. I mean, it's not a real being, folks, as you guys know. Our audience knows, no, Slender Man's not real, but these kids really, for some wacky, strange reason, really believe that if they killed this girl, they go live with him in his cabin.
They were deluded. So the entire tale, including kind of the history of Slender Man himself as an online meme and whatnot, and then the tale of the 3 girls, it's a documentary called Beware the Slender Man, and that will premiere Monday on HBO.
Check it out. I'm going to check it out. That's for sure. If I had HBO, but I'll have to wait for Netflix.
I know. I understand. All right, and our buds, we got to mention them. Speaking of TV, our buds Nick and Katrina are back Friday night. Paranormal Lockdown, and they go to a home back to Ohio, Bel Air, Ohio. And a dark entity literally has chased an entire family out of their home.
Wow, that Ohio, man, has been a hotbed lately. You got everything from you got Bigfoot there, you got aliens hovering around Ohio, you got ghosts like crazy.
Ghosts galore.
Yeah, Ohio is a great state for the paranormal.
It really is. We seem to be not only a swing state and a focal point of national elections, but we get all kinds of paranormal activity as well. I wonder why. I don't know why.
Who knows?
I think we're a microcosm as part of it. Ohio is a microcosm of the entire nation in that we have all the different demographics right here in a relatively small area.
Well, that is true, and Ohio has always been known for having a very diverse population. That's why it's such a swing state.
Very diverse. It's got big cities. It's got rural. It's got mountains a little bit, and every farmland, everything in between.
You love Ohio.
Someone retweeted the America's Most Haunted book. Way to go! Virtually you.
Hey, you know what? You can get that book. Woo! You can get the America's Most Haunted book at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, most of your better bookstores everywhere, and a portion of the proceeds goes to Eric. So if you want to give Eric a hand, someday
it will.
He'll get a nickel. Yes, a nickel. Yeah, you heard me right, folks. He gets a nickel.
We got to keep selling. Yeah, no, I think it's held up. It's over 2 years old now. It came out in the Halloween season.
Are you coming out the most, honestly, to 14. Be completely honest with you, the most common question I get from listeners and people that just kind of say, hey, how you doing? They all want to know, is there America's Most Haunted 2? And if so, am I, and I don't know because Eric has asked me, are we going to be involved in it? Are the personalities from this show going to translate our personalities, like who we are, to a book? And I don't know. I have no idea. Now,
my answer to that would be yes. I would very much like there to be an America's Most Haunted 2. I don't know what the theme would be exactly. It would have to be something fairly specific because, in a sense, we've already said, hey, here are the 10 most haunted public or semi-public locations in the nation. So we would love to perpetuate the America's Most Haunted name, and obviously the brand has continued on. It's a website and social media, and it's part of this radio show, and so on and so forth. But we would need to narrow it down to a specific theme. So America's Most Haunted, something. So we do need to come up with that. And as far as who would be involved, yes, absolutely. Joel has been a hunter and not himself, so he has participated in the real world. He's been out there beating the bushes and breathing in the asbestos.
Oh, yeah, good times.
And beyond that, he's interviewed everyone else and their mother. So that combination would certainly lead to participation.
Well,
yes.
I think if you're to do it, I think it should be America's Most Haunted Bars.
Well, that would be fun.
And we would have to go on a tour to sample the spirits. Yes. Or the America's Most Haunted diners. Go get pancakes everywhere we go. Come on, be a good time.
America's Most Haunted Breakfast Nooks.
That's right.
All right. One more. We got time for one more. This is super creepy, and what's cool about it is it's in GIF form, so that you can see it unfolding. So go below the America's Most Haunted book cover.
The hell?
And check that out. Who or what is creeping up on that guy?
Oh, man.
Through the tall grass.
And he's just sitting there texting. That's what it looks like he's doing.
What's going on.
He's like, doo-doo-doo. I'm about to die. And I don't even know it.
How creepy is that?
That is creepy. That is not as creepy as last week's video, though, of the girl in the room. But that is still damn creepy. Don't get me wrong. That is. What the hell is that little humanoid thing?
I mean, it looks like it's a little kid, maybe. But what's a little kid doing wandering through the grass like that?
It's an alien. It has to be an alien.
Maybe it's an alien. I mean, it looks solid. I'm not really sure it goes.
Either that or it's a great hoax. One of the two.
It's pretty cool. That's not a bad picture, and I like that they turned it into a GIF. All right, one more. For some reason, Twitter decided the images on this were sensitive, quote unquote, and every time I go to it, I have to click, it's not sensitive. Yes, I want to see it. You rat bastards. All right, so you undoubtedly know the tale of La Pascualita. That's the mannequin in the bridal shop in, I believe it's Chihuahua, Mexico. It's definitely Mexico.
Yes.
And it's been there since, I think, the 30s.
Yes.
And the big rumor that never seems to go away is that mannequin is really the mummified daughter of the original owner.
It would be easy to figure that out.
I would think so.
You send a forensic team down there, take a sample, take it back to the lab, check it out, see if there's any human DNA.
Yeah, I don't think the shop owner is going to allow that.
No, but that would be the way to definitively. But then again,
look at that hand.
It's a great PR ploy because...
Look at the hand.
I know. I'm looking at these pictures right now.
Isn't that hand really creepy?
It is very creepy.
I mean, the face looks like a mannequin.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it's a nice face.
Yeah,
it's well-done face.
Yeah,
but it does look like a mannequin. But that hand, that looks like a human hand.
Holy sweet mother of pearl. That does look like a human hand.
Look at the up-close one.
Excuse me.
Look how detailed the skin is.
Wow, that's creepy. Because you can even see it's dry. It's got red around the nails, like like there once was blood circulation there. Look, it is definitely that. I didn't need to see this.
Yeah, that's enough to freak you out. And then, of course, there's all kinds of legends that have grown up around it, as far as she dances at night when the shop's closed and this and that and everything else. But it's those pictures, I'm telling you, they're enough to give you a nightmare.
That is damn creepy. Wow.
It is. And is as if there are not enough zombie shows.
Oh boy.
And I'll tell you, this one sounds remarkably like iZombie, which I like a lot, and I'm looking forward to it coming back. But on Netflix, they're going to have, of all people, Drew Barrymore will be starring as a nice, dutiful wife and mother who happens to be a zombie.
Oh, jeez.
Santa Clarita Diet, it's called, and you can imagine what's in that diet.
Oh, we've gone too far with the zombie thing.
Drew Barrymore as a zombie.
It's time to cut this baby off. It is time to cut, all right? Kill it. Come on, be done with it. No more zombie shows. You took a beloved genre of movie I grew up with. That I loved. I loved the Romero stuff. I loved that, all the zombie gore stuff. You've turned into a cliche of its former self. No, just stop. It's gone too far. It's gone.
Well, it's sure being pushed in a lot of new directions.
Yeah, Walking Dead. Sure. Thank you for bastardizing the genre I love. Because if it weren't for you, it wouldn't be so popular.
Well, sure.
I just want to say that. Thank you very much for messing my... No, I'm kidding. No, for messing things up. But no, yes, I do see Drew Barrymore, which I thought was quite a bit of a has-been, is coming back to TV.
I think it's her first series that I'm aware of, anyway, or at least in a very long time. Maybe as a kid she did something. I don't really remember. Yeah,
she was in E.T.
Well, that's a movie, though. I'm talking about television.
Oh, she wasn't in 90210. Oh, I know that. She wasn't in Melrose Place, was she?
No, I don't think she was in
I can't remember anything.
Maybe as a child.
Yeah.
A young child.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Who
anyway,
knows?
That will be interesting. I imagine I'll at least check out one episode and see what comes of it.
Yeah, but we got we got to run a break, everybody. We got your Fox News coming, and when we come back, David Hogan, we're going to talk UFOs, flying saucers, all sorts of good UFO alien goodness. Don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this.
Fox News Radio, I'm Kathleen Maloney. The inaugural celebration is underway in Washington, D.C. Fox's Melanie Wiltz has a live report.
Kathleen, President-elect Donald Trump sounding somewhat humbled as he spoke to an audience of supporters gathered for a welcome concert on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
On the campaign, I called it the forgotten man and the forgotten woman. Well, you're not forgotten anymore. That I can tell you.
Mr. Trump also promised to make America great again for all Americans. As the sun set on the National Mall, country stars Lee Greenwood and Toby Keith entertained the crowd. The president-elect now attending a candlelight dinner for major donors at Washington's Union Station. Kathleen.
Thanks, Melanie. Donald Trump has a lot of work to do unifying the country, according to a new Fox News poll.
More than half of voters surveyed have an unfavorable opinion of the president-elect and disapprove of the way he's handled the transition. And asked about the mood of the country, 60% say it's everyone for themselves. Only about a third say we're all in this together. Still, the new Fox poll finds 2/3 are optimistic about the economy, and that crosses party lines.
Fox's Lisa Brady. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry on the defensive at Senate confirmation hearings on his nomination to head the Energy Department. Perry telling the panel he regrets recommending that it should be eliminated, now saying the department performs important functions that include protecting and modernizing the nation's nuclear stockpile. Mexican drug lord Joaquin Guzman is on his way to New York to face criminal charges in connection with his leadership of a notorious organized crime syndicate. The Justice Department says El Chapo has been extradited from a Mexican jail. Guzman faces multiple indictments in 6 jurisdictions around the United States. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up,
I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm place on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy
backsplash. I want to be a bike that races around the country.
When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch.
I want to be a skyscraper.
I want to be When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
A federal judge has blocked Texas from ousting Planned Parenthood from the state's Medicaid programs because of videos released by anti-abortion activists in 2015. Planned Parenthood was in danger of losing the funding this Saturday. Doctors are keeping a close watch over a former president and his wife.
Doctors are evaluating former President George H.W. Bush to see when they can remove a breathing tube. That is the word from a family spokesman. The 41st president and former First Lady Barbara Bush both remain in a Houston hospital with respiratory conditions. Former President Bush is in stable condition inside intensive care, according to the spokesperson, recovering from pneumonia. Doctors are also treating the former First Lady for bronchitis. She went to the hospital yesterday and is feeling, quote, 1,000% better, according to the spokesperson. At 92, Mr. Bush is the oldest living former president. Outside Houston Methodist Hospital, Casey Stiegel, Fox News.
One of President Obama's final major actions in office involves inmates.
On his final full day in the White House, the president granted commutation of sentences to 330 inmates serving time in federal prison, almost all of them for nonviolent drug crimes. This is the most commutations ever granted in a single day and brings the total number of granted commutations to 1,715, more than the past 13 presidents combined.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. The president also criticized Congress for refusing to close the military prison at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Donald Trump's first meal as president probably is similar to power lunches the billionaire businessman has enjoyed. Thursday's post-swearing-in menu includes Maine lobster, Gulf shrimp, and a rich chocolate dessert. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News Radio.
And welcome back to After Hours, everybody. Well, let me do that again, man. I do this so many times. You would think I'd have it right down, right, Eric? Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Whew, I feel much better about myself.
Yeah, we squeezed it through. We had to do. We played. I think I told you the family band played now. A week and a half ago, a week ago Saturday, and it was the worst blizzard night of the winter. We haven't had that many blizzard nights, but it was a blizzard. It was a whiteout on the way home. So it was a fun but intimate gathering, as you can imagine. And we hadn't played in about a month, so we were a little bit rusty, and we had one band member missing, the other guitar player, so that kind of had us a little bit off. So we were just nothing was exactly right. So we start of course, one of the more cliched songs that we do is Journey's Don't Stop Believing, because my daughter sings it very, very well. She sounds a lot like Steve Perry on that one. And she got about a quarter of the way into it and just said, oh no, everything was messed up and her brain just fried. And we started over again. First time ever. I just said, stop.
It happens.
We're starting over again. We are starting this song over again. Forget what you just heard. Forget the last 30 seconds.
Exactly.
We take it all back. The way went back in time. We took it back. We played it. And everything was wonderful. All right.
Let's move on from that train wreck that I did.
Move on now.
All right.
We are going to get down to the nitty-gritty of extraterrestrial aviation with UFO FAQ author David J. Hogan. What do we really know about them? Does the government know more than it's letting on? Where do they come from? Where do they go? Cotton Eye Joe. What exactly are UFOs? Since the famed Kenneth Arnold flying saucer sighting of 1947, the world has been fascinated and unnerved by these mysterious objects in the sky. That exposure to which sometimes causes irritated eyes, sunburned skin, and leaves trace radiation. Featuring material from the UFO Project Blue Book archives of over 12,000 sightings investigated by the Air Force and other agencies, made available digitally just recently in 2015. UFO FAQ is an all-inclusive guide to UFO lore, evidence and hoaxes, sightings and abductions, noted UFO proponents and skeptics, and sanctioned research and purported government cover-ups. Welcome to the program, author, UFO investigator, Dave Hogan.
Thank you, guys.
Wow, that was quite the introduction there, Eric.
I try.
You are the best in the business. You are the best in the business. But, hey, Dave, I mean, quite the book you got going on here. I mean, you must have had have you ever had a personal experience with a UFO?
No, I have not. I thought I did once. I'm outside of Cleveland, Ohio, about 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out driving with my now wife, and I saw something, and I pulled the car over, and I got out of the car, and Kim said, "Honey, don't do that." And I stood there, and I looked up, and I really wanted it to be a UFO. I found out later that a private pilot got busted for illegal lights on the underside of his fuselage, and it was a rotating circular pattern, and it looked pretty damn good to me. But unfortunately, it was not a UFO.
Well, was it an intentional hoax?
I think it was.
Yes, it was.
Well, I mean,
someone went to a lot of effort to do that.
Well, yes, yeah, they did. I mean, they got in trouble for it, so hopefully it's worth it. Because it's big trouble if you do that kind of stuff.
And you said Cleveland. You know where I am, don't you?
Cleveland.
I'm in Cleveland.
Oh, I thought both of you were in Minnesota.
No,
I'm in suburban Cleveland. Where were you exactly? I'm in Aurora.
Oh, silly me. Oh, in Mentor. I'm outside of Lost Nation Airport, actually.
My wife went to Mentor High School.
Oh, my goodness.
Small world. Small world.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I went to Chagrin. I went to Chagrin Falls.
Wow.
Yeah, small world,
huh?
Yes, I lived, all over the Cleveland area for years, although I've lived out here in Chicagoland since 1985. Long time.
Cleveland's great. Yep. Well, okay, now
enough of Cleveland.
All right, so if you didn't see an actual UFO, what generated your interest? Where does it come from? Because obviously it runs deep and broad.
It does. As a kid, I read Clark and Heinlein, and I've watched Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine and its companion, Spaceman magazine. When I was 10 or 11, I got hold of a copy of Inside the Flying Saucers. I think that was George Adamski's second book. And I got hold of that in 63 or 64. And I was finishing up grade school at the time. And I still have that particular copy, in fact. And, I'm a comic book collector. I'm a film fan. I'm a history buff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of have a sense of wonder about things. And it's just never deserted me. And as I was casting about not too long ago for another book project, I thought, well, how about UFOs? A lot of the single volume, all-encompassing guides are encyclopedic, and they don't really have a narrative thread to them. And then so many of the other UFO books are of the personal experience variety, or they are extraordinarily sharply focused.
Well,
on abductions.
Yeah. Now, did you do the lion's share of the research for the book?
Yeah, I did. It's my 6th or 7th book, and ordinarily I can write a book in about 8 or 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent 18 months on this one. It's a friggin' big topic.
Oh, it is. It covers a lot, and
it does.
It would seem now. Obviously, everything in this book is. I guess let me reformulate. Was all of the subject, the information in the book, was that all your own information, or was it gathered through various sources, and cataloged, so to speak?
Oh, it's a combination. As with any other writer, I stood on the shoulders of them that came before me.
Sure.
But it's a single volume narrative of the phenomenon. And so if you want the facts, all of that stuff is there. It's also a cultural history, though.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that that's always interested me the most about popular culture, about high art, all of those intersections into our own lives and our own minds. And the UFO phenomenon, it certainly might actually exist in space, but it's also, it's a part of us as well. I mean, if there's something folkloric about it.
Yeah. Are you a skeptic?
Almost atavistic.
Are you a skeptic or are you a believer?
I'm an open-minded skeptic.
So you almost
obviously,
kind of agnostic, maybe.
A bit.
Okay.
Yeah. If I had my druthers, I would see them hovering in the sky every day.
Sure.
It's that sense of wonder I talked about. Obviously, UFOs are up there, and that's simply by definition. It's a flying object that, at least for the moment, is unidentified. Are alien intelligences out there? Yes, absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. But the distances are so vast that the chances of us actually encountering each other are really pretty slim. Although having said that, I am open-minded about it.
Okay.
My perspective is almost exactly what you just said. I mean, you dipped into my brain. At this point in time, especially as they keep finding more and more exoplanets, now it looks like they're really common, right? Almost every star has a solar system. It is now.
Yeah, it's terrific, isn't it? Yes, I love that. Yeah,
and that's a very recent development, and I want to get into that, and I certainly want to get into the 2015 internet availability of Project Blue Book, because I want to hear what is new that you think's from that. But what I was going to say is the only caveat that I have, and I think you have the same thing, I believe I read that in the book, is it's a little bit arrogant for us to think that just because we can't envision a people with technology that advanced that they could overcome the distances. It's a little arrogant on our part to assume that that's impossible. But I don't think it's unreasonable to think that they would have to be way far ahead of us. I mean, I think our ability to travel faster than the speed of light, because that's what it would take. I mean, it seems to me it would have to be either a wormhole situation or some sort of multi-universe situation, a multiverse situation where they were popping in and out. Other than that, I mean, you would have to literally travel at multiples of the speed of light, and to our knowledge, that is not
You
possible.
would need warp drive.
Yes, it's either FTL or it's a shortcut of some sort.
Yeah.
The wormhole idea, or it's warp drive. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's theoretically possible. Theoretically.
Well, yeah, exactly. But for the person that's just tuning in, let's just assume they don't know anything about aliens. And can you tell us a little bit about the granddaddy of them all, as it were, the Roswell case? What's your thoughts? What happened to the Roswell? Where was the mistakes made? All those kind of things.
It's in New Mexico. I'm in 1947. I'm at an Air Force base, and something happened to fall out of the sky, and in the ensuing, it's 70 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yikes. In all those years, it has it's turned into something almost mythological. It's an alien spacecraft, alien bodies, according to some accounts, actually ended up being recovered and are still extant. Other accounts often tell us. I think that the most interesting and telling aspect of the Roswell story is how badly the Air Force handled public relations.
Yeah.
I suspect that it was something reasonably secret that came out of the sky. And the Air Force, being unaccustomed to such things as public relations and advertising, things like that, handled it awfully clumsily. And that poor handling only encouraged a lot of speculation. Are the speculators off base? Well, I don't know. My suspicion is that they are, but I certainly can't say that for sure.
Well,
I suspect that it was a weather balloon.
I was just about to ask you that.
An experimental aircraft.
So I was going to ask you, as a writer, immersing yourself into that case, what was your thoughts of what it was? And you don't believe it to be a UFO.
Well, I don't disbelieve it to be a UFO.
Oh, sure, but you're more likely would say it was a weather balloon in your estimation. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but if someone were to press you tomorrow, David, what do you think that was at Roswell? What would your answer be?
Well, you know what? I think I go through life understanding that usually the simplest explanation is the explanation.
Fair enough.
Our minds are so fertile and imaginative as human animals, but often it's the simple explanation that is the valid one. And I do think that it was an Air Force project of some sort, and they just didn't want other eyes to know about it. They kind of screwed up their explanation of it. Pretty clumsy, awkward, inconsistent. And so a bad performance of that sort, it just encouraged all the speculation that's followed.
Yeah.
That's my thought generally, too. Although recently, within the last month, I guess, we had Stanton Friedman on, and boy, he is absolutely and utterly convinced that it was the real deal.
Yeah, I admire Stanton Friedman very much. In fact, right before this interview, I took a few notes, and I noted Dr. Friedman's name.
Sure.
As a ufologist, I admire very much. He is serious-minded. I'm obviously highly educated, well qualified, and I am sure not going to discount his theories.
Well, Stanton, over the years, I've gotten to know him, from interviewing him, and we're on a first-name basis, him and I and Eric, and I gotta say, he, like you said, very educated, very knowledgeable, and I think there is a little more to it personally, and this is just my own opinion. I believe there's a little more to Roswell than I'm kind of more in the Stanton Friedman camp. I think there's a little more going on. Oh, the weather balloon it's almost as if they were hoping we'd all be dumb enough to buy that.
Well, if you think about America, 1947, it was still a pretty provincial place. There were newspapers, weekly magazines, newsreels, and of course radio. People's, I guess it's the general level of knowledge. It just wasn't real sophisticated. And I'm sure that the Air Force kind of felt encouraged. Well, I think that I can put this over on these people.
So they were hoping that Joe Sixpack wouldn't give a damn.
Well, sure.
That he wasn't smart enough to figure it out. Joe Sixpack will never understand it, so therefore we can lie about it, put under the carpet. They did not realize it was going to blow up like it has, and we're still talking about it 70 years later.
Well, and I think with good reason, frankly. Yeah. It's certainly intriguing.
Well, one few things are for sure: death, taxes, and the government lies to us. Those are all things that are for sure.
Well, yes. In fact, in the book, I might have a section I talk about systems. I might talk about governments and other systems, and the system exists only to perpetuate itself. Mm-hmm. It does not exist for its stated function. If the government serves us, that's something that's incidental.
Yeah.
Its only real concern is in perpetuating itself.
It's all about self-preservation.
Lie all the time.
Yeah.
They lie all the time.
Oh, yeah. My Lord. If I had a highlight reel, it would take this whole show to just scratch the surface of the lies. But no, it's very much, like you said, to kind of paraphrase you, into self-preservation. Because it has to justify its own existence.
Absolutely. Yes. I want to go on existing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But, UFOs now have been a source of topic, whether it's Area 51, whether it's Roswell, whether it's whatever the current story of the day is, but it hasn't gone anywhere. It's still as relevant today as it was then, and new technology that we have a lot of people say, or ufologists, people that believe in the UFO, like that camp say, for instance, we wouldn't have the smartphone if it wasn't for the UFO. It wasn't for the alien. What do you think about the technology of today? Do you think any of it was influenced by extraterrestrials?
I think that it was likely influenced by the idea of extraterrestrials. I talk in the book about something I call practical futurism. Mm-hmm. And it's something that arose in the 1930s and 40s. And there was that new emphasis on technology. I'm after the New York World's Fair of 39 especially. And on streamlining, on new ways of communication, on urban and highway design, mm-hmm. Industrial design. And so suddenly America, right before the Second World War, it became extraordinarily future-oriented. And in that regard, it was a very liberating and wonderful period.
According to them, we're supposed to have flying cars by now.
Absolutely, yes. If you look at old issues of Mechanics Illustrated and things like that, everyone has a flying car.
Yeah, and a Fembot. Exactly. Absolutely, and none of that came to pass, at least very little of it came to pass. The futurists.
No, it didn't, but that mindset, though, I think the mindset installed itself in the national consciousness and in the international consciousness mm-hmm. in the West. And I think it made tech people a lot more adventurous, mm-hmm. And forward thinking, and they took risks. And I suppose that it's that mindset. It did bring us the smartphone and Skype, over which I'm speaking to.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Sure. It brought us all this new technologies at the forefront because it inspired people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and all these people to bring us this technology. Mainly, like you said, the future forward thinking. I do believe that. I think that in a lot of instances, we as a species sell ourselves very short a lot of times of what we can accomplish. And we can accomplish some wonderful, great things.
Oh, our capacities are astonishing, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think, Eric and I, we have had that same discussion right here on this very show that we maybe sell ourselves short as a species when we go, oh, aliens must have helped us with. No, why couldn't we think of it? Why must there always be somebody better doing it for us? Maybe it was us.
yes, it doesn't have to be an outside force. Although, again, as an open-minded skeptic, I mean, who's to say that this and that of our technology is not alien-based? I certainly cannot say absolutely that it's not.
Mm-hmm. Well, David, hold that thought. We're going to run a break. We come back. We're going to talk to David about everything from Project Blue Book to abductions, and we're going to ask him all those probing questions. Don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric C. Olsen.
Eric C. Olsen, and we are talking with David Hogan tonight, and he wrote a really cool book called UFO, or FAQ UFO. However, I know the FAQ is actually a franchise, isn't it, David? That's not like it's something you thought up. There is a whole series of FAQ books, isn't there?
Yes, it's a publisher's thing.
That's what I thought.
They've done excellent books on music, on haunted places, on film. And in fact, this is the fourth.
Really?
In the series.
Wow.
I've actually written for them.
Wow.
Yes.
Very cool. We did the X-Files FAQ.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Right. Yes, another book.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And, well, I gotta
And we did Haunted America, FAQ.
We did it all,
yes,
man.
That's a fun one. Isn't that a nice book? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it is. Very, very much so. Now, as I'm looking through the book, and I come to abductions, I see that you have the Betty and Barney Hill story. But
I sure do.
One glaring thing, and I got to take your task a little bit. Why no Travis Walton? Why not the most famous abduction stories? Why not the one that's been the most publicized, the one that's been most proven, both with polygraph and FBI involvement? Why not that story?
Yeah, I think that you're the second person actually to ask me that, and I'm trying to think how I begged off the first time somebody asked me. I guess I felt that particular story, in spite of the interesting involvement of the FBI, it just didn't strike me as being any more ultimately convincing than some of the others.
Whoa. You had 5 witnesses. Yes, that's
true.
That's very convincing to me. You had 5 witnesses.
I actually did allude to it in the first draft of the book. It's published. It's about 170,000 words. And in my first draft, I wrote 210,000 words.
Like I say, I don't mean to put you against the wall here, because how you wrote is how you wrote it. That's really you're the writer. But I'm just a radio guy, and you're the writer.
It's just how publishing works.
I would have thought for sure, if I were writing a book personally, again, I mean this is all the respect, I would have included that. The only way I probably wouldn't have included that if it would have required a whole new book, like if it would have made it into a 2-volume book. But the story is so, it's like the archetype. That is the abduction that everybody else is pretty much held up to. That is the evidence that everybody looks to of how that worked. Everything in that abduction case had so many witnesses, so many moving pieces and parts that you can't turn a blind eye. As a ufologist, as someone that's an enthusiast of UFOs, you can't turn a blind eye to that case, because my God, it's like the holy grail of abductions. I was just kind of curious of what made someone, writing want to overlook such a well put together, basically gift wrap case. There you go. You can write about this, and you're gonna have, and you're gonna do great with it. I mean, you obviously had your own reasons. I just found it a little odd. That's all.
I don't think I overlooked it as much as I elected to do other things in the book. That's all. It's certainly, it's an interesting case.
Sure.
I concentrate on the Hill case, I think because it's so seminal, and it has social aspects in it that are very interesting. As well.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be talking out of school here, has the Betty and Barney Hill case to some level has been debunked, hasn't it?
If you look at some sources, that's true.
Okay.
I feel that the Hills were actually quite sincere, and that what happened is that hypnotic regression that wasn't performed real well helped to lead them a little bit astray. Okay. And that's not their fault.
No, wouldn't be their fault. And we've talked about this case, of course, on the show with was it the niece, Eric? Who was it? The niece we talked with, Betty and Barney? Okay.
No, right. She was the co-writer with Stanton Friedman.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was very convinced, and she thought that there were aspects of the tale or of the experience that made it clear to her that information that was gleaned outside of the hypnosis was what she kind of hung her hat on, and things that she was told early on about the experience, or directly by the aunt, right away. So before the regression, and that information is what she thinks is the most important aspect of it, because that exists apart from the hypnosis element. But yeah, she was very, very firmly convinced that was the real deal, and I guess Stan Freeman seemed to be as well, and that was certainly something that they focused on. Their most recent book, kind of interesting in that it's an overview, somewhat like yours is. So, but obviously it's from their perspective. What do you think is the most compelling then of the either abduction or contact cases, and why?
Probably the Lonnie Zamora case outside of Socorro, New Mexico in '64. He was a sober fella, a cop. I'm in his early or mid 30s. I'm accomplished, well trained, excellent observer, and he stumbled across something out there in the desert, and it's a very consistent story on his part. It was a white object, and there was flame involved, possibly an explosion, if memory serves, and it just scared the heck out of him. This is a police officer, and if you're doing that job in New Mexico, you have to be pretty unflappable and professional.
Yeah. Generally, police make great witnesses when it comes to this stuff, because they are very matter of fact, and they don't by nature jump to conclusions.
Well, no, it's not in their training, and so in that regard, I think that the Zamora case is a real shining example of credibility. And in the book, actually, I had a lot of fun as I wrote about that case. I wrote it as a narrative, almost as if it were a short story. I altered no facts. I simply dramatized it a little bit, and in the book, it unreels almost like a sequence out of a film. And if you believe Officer Zamora, and I do, it's a terrific adventure.
So if you, on the one hand, find his case to be quite credible for all the reasons you just said, and it certainly makes sense to me, and you believe him in terms of, I assume you mean he's not trying to pull the wool over on anyone's eyes. On the other hand, you remain an open-minded skeptic. So what could have happened if it wasn't what he thought it was? What could it have been? That's what I always say to myself is, well, what could it have been,
Well, I think that is a fair question and a good question, too. And I am an open-minded skeptic, and then I hear a question like that, and I have to focus more on the open-minded part, don't I? I am open-minded, and I do believe Officer Zamora. I think that he certainly believed, and he was a trained observer.
Was there any evidence uncovered from this encounter?
In fact, I have a photo in the book of Officer Zamora a day or two later, and he's crouching in the desert, and he's pointing at a burn mark on a desert floor. The object itself had lifted off in his presence, and so that was gone. But there was interesting and intriguing physical evidence of something having been there. Something happened out there.
Yeah, but
in the desert.
what? No one really knows at this point, definitively, like most of these cases. No one definitively knows, but sounds very compelling, but I got to ask you, because we're running low on time, what's going on new or interesting that you found with Project Blue Book?
Well, you know what? I entered into this project and anticipating a lot of fascinating uncovered memos and things like that. And I'm going to tell you what I found. I mean, it's interesting though. I mean, the Blue Book, it was a plodding bureaucracy. And it went about its business seriously enough, but in a rather desultory manner at the same time. It was another arm of the government, and it did investigate cases, and a certain percentage of them had to go into its books as unknowable. But it was a government project. And as we know, the Air Force had a limited interest in this. It perpetuated the project only as long as it felt it had PR value.
So you're saying that Blue Book was primarily a PR tool more than it was a legitimate research project?
No, I'm saying both, actually.
So kind of wore two
in the
hats.
minds of the USAF brass, it was a PR thing.
Okay.
In the minds and actions of the people executing Project Blue Book, it was a job.
Sure.
And they did it well, as best as they could. And so it was both. It was a PR project in its direction. In its execution, it was something serious and honest.
Why did they... Now, obviously, they closed the doors on Project Blue Book. The exact date escapes me without looking it up. Those doors...
1970.
Okay, 1970 was when they mothballed it. Was there ever anything that you see in the way of credible evidence in the Blue Book?
Oh, yes, in many, many cases. I mean, the Blue Book investigators themselves have acknowledged these cases as unknowable. I mean, they acknowledge credible witnesses. And in essence, these memos, available online, are a lot like a shrugging of the shoulders and a scratch on the head. Well, something happened, and it can't be easily explained. I mean, it wasn't swamp gas, and it wasn't planet Venus, or a weather balloon, or a Cessna, or a flight of geese. And there are many, many scores, if not hundreds, of such cases on the Blue Book files. So, although it was a government PR project, almost against the government's will, it did acknowledge that there is a lot of unknowables out there, and it just can't be explained. And so what are you going to make of that, USAF brass?
Well, yeah, that'd do something. I mean, because then there was the Robertson panel that was involved with the Blue Book.
Yes. And, other people, the Condon Committee, and it's a lot of outside organizations, outside panels studying this stuff. And I think it's very likely that the Air Force hoped that that the UFO thing would just kind of evaporate on its own.
Yeah.
And they set up Blue Book as a sort of a stop to the public, and almost against the Air Force's will, the people operating Blue Book took the job very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Air Force had as its ultimate aim to discredit the entire UFO idea, it failed. And it was the people in the trenches at Blue Book that made that cynical idea fail. And so that is the value of the Blue Book years and the investigations. It acknowledged in many instances that we just don't know. And isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know if you even know this one, Eric. Did you know that John McCain was allegedly one of the witnesses of UFOs?
I did not, but you know what? I was just going to ask something related to that. It seems to me a really compelling, or perhaps the most compelling subset of all these are the pilot witnessing things. So, fighter pilots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I know John McCain was a pilot. I assume this happened, while he was piloting something. But some of those, where they're being followed for an extended period of time, and then you have the,
right.
Inhuman, at least to our understanding, beyond our technology, the super fast movements in and out and the super quick jerky motions. So what are your thoughts on all that? To me, that's some of those anyway. The most convincing of those are really hard to dismiss.
On the surface of it, pilot sightings are super credible. But on the other hand, a pilot has a lot on his and her mind.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a pilot, but I've flown, and it takes a heck of a lot of concentration. And if you're ferrying, 100 souls or an expensive Air Force aircraft, you have to concentrate on the now and on the processes in that cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
And so pilots, interestingly enough, are not necessarily the best witnesses of UFO sightings. It's counterintuitive, I know, but
World War II fighter pilots often mentioned, and they even dubbed it Foo Fighters.
The Foos.
Yeah, they would come in contact with these aircraft, especially in the Pacific theater, and they would
often fly alongside them.
They were so common.
Them jet ahead.
Exactly, it was so common. They even gave it the nickname Foo Fighter. So I mean, they were obviously seeing something up there. Were they being taken seriously? That's a whole nother topic. But a lot of Air Force folks that have a lot to lose by coming forward. You don't want to be known as a loony bin.
That is a wonderful point. Yes, and the fact that these pilots did come forward is highly significant, especially if you're looking back decades at a time when science fiction and fantasy did not, overwhelm popular culture as it does now. And if you came out at that time, oh my goodness, people would kind of rub their chins and they would look at you sideways, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yet these pilots were convinced and they came out and they said it. Good for them.
Talk about risk, because it wouldn't take much for them to ground you. If they thought that you were a little loopy, if you thought you're losing it, now that's it. Your flying days are over. So really, quite honestly, it was a huge risk to come out and talk.
And then another of the most credible witnesses is an amateur pilot, of course, Kenneth Arnold. I'm a pillar of his community. I'm an Eagle Scout, a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a family man. I'm a straight arrow guy. And he saw something over Washington State in 1947.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sure find nothing in his account that disqualifies him as a credible witness. And so that's a good example of a pilot who had a lot of time in observation and whose account is really credible.
Sure. I would agree. I would definitely agree. And the credibility is, when it comes to this, is all that matters. I mean, if you don't have the credibility, no one's going to believe you saw a flying saucer. So that is definitely paramount, that you have that kind of credibility. Now, where do you we've kind of talked about UFOs now for the whole last hour. Have you seen, now that you're more conscious of UFOs, have you seen more of an uptick in sightings since, you kind of did the book and kind of more aware of them? Has people come to you and said, I've seen this, and they come to you with their own stories?
Yeah, a friend of mine, I used to work with him in publishing. I'm as an information officer at MUFON, Roger Marsh. And I do pay a lot of attention now to MUFON and
you can become a member.
Organizations.
You can become a member, Dave, of MUFON.
No, I'm not a member.
You should. Why not?
I probably should.
Yeah, that's
what the heck.
Hey, maybe you can get in on the reporting end of it, and you can hear more tales. For the next book.
The internet has changed everything, of course, and I might talk about this in the latter part of the book. There is a lot of nonsense out there. I can't think of the website now at the moment, but it's a slick-looking site, mm-hmm. and it ran a photograph that the Mars rover had taken of a rock, and the website said, "That's a squirrel, man." And they isolated it with a second color on their website, and I guess if you're thinking squirrel going in, yeah, it's a squirrel. What the heck?
Yeah.
But it's not really a squirrel, is it?
No, so many of the Mars, what the rover is finding on Mars interpretations is just so clearly, it's not even pareidolia. It's beyond it's deranged. Yeah. It's finding what you're looking for. It's really just what you said. I want to get your thoughts real quick, since we really are now right at the end. It seems to me like it's fairly likely that some percentage of these sightings, and maybe more with the pilots than perhaps others, are actually some sort of secret craft. I mean, do you agree with that? And do you think there's any sort of technology that is going on, and I'm talking about a quantum leap in technology that we don't know about? I mean, are there things that are out there that we would be amazed to find out that it actually exists?
Well, quantum leaps, especially in avionics, are kind of rare, and this stuff kind of progresses in recognizable stages. But on the other hand, the government is often pretty good about keeping secrets. But everybody has a smartphone now and a Facebook page, and everyone is seeing things, and they're making note of things. And I think if a quantum leap actually existed, we would know about it.
Yeah.
It's just so difficult to hide a thing that huge.
That's what she said.
Really?
Sorry.
Giving birth.
You're such a little scamp.
Well, Dave, it's been great having you on the show. We're at the very, very end, and it did get through the show without one Uranus joke, thank God. And yeah, I know.
I love a good Uranus
No, that's
joke.
right.
Sorry.
You know, they're always great. Take care. You know what? You guys can get the book pretty much everywhere. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, of course. You can get the book UFO FAQ by Dave Hogan. You check it out, read up on it, and until then, take care of each other, love each other. Until next time, keep looking up to the stars. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.